Thank you very much, Dr. Langa.
Yes.
Surprisingly, I have 4 questions, so I don't know. My name is Daphne Nampala. My question 1 is what Apostle Paul talks about marriage in 1 Corinthians chapter 7.
Yes.
I think you all know that scripture, where he's like, the marriage will face more problems than the unmarried.
Yes.
And then my other question is, when you say that a man is the head of the family under marriage,
Yes.
and we're living out the matriarchal societies that have women as the head of the family.
Okay.
And then my other question is, when you said you'll just do us apart, Madam Beatrice, you remember you said there was a time he changed and you didn't really know what was happening. I am looking at a situation where I am married to you probably for 17 years, and then out of the blue you wake up and you are being violent, like so violent to an extent that I'm so scared for my life.
Yes.
Don't I have the right to leave that marriage? And then lastly, when we say wait to have sex before marriage and learn each other, aren't we leaving out the fact that we as human beings can learn each other even after having sex with each other?
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Very good question. Yeah. All right. Very good question.
Okay, I'm going to, thank you, Daphne, for your question. I'm going to refer to the one where I made a comment where, we were on the verge of breaking up. At the time we were on the verge of breaking up, we were not married. We were not married. And that is why it is so important to do your due diligence, to take the time to get to know each other. Because if you don't take the time to get to know each other, you may hold on to something which is not really there. And in relationships, there are what we call red flags. You're in a relationship with somebody, you are preparing to get married, maybe you have even set a date, maybe you have even done the kwanjula. Then, a week before the wedding, you discover there was a baby that was born somewhere. Yes. And this man who is your groom is responsible for that baby. A woman shows up, she is not his wife, but there's a baby there. And you're walking towards getting married in a couple of weeks. That's a red flag. So you ask yourself, hey, when did this happen? Babies are not born overnight. It takes at least 9 months to get a baby into this world. So if that red flag waves, and you say, but the wedding, now we have prepared everything, service providers have already been paid, we've booked the hall, we've paid for the food, we've done this, we've done the other, our families, our friends, my uncle is even coming from Australia, and my cousin is coming from New Zealand, and red flags. Are you going to go ahead with this wedding? That is the question you should ask yourself. Am I prepared to live with this? Because the answer may be yes. But this man has already shown you that he can be making babies and promising you marriage. Yeah? And taking meat and sukari and rice to your family. When out there he's having babies. So there's a good chance that you'll be having babies even when you're his wife. So there could be very many other red flags, and I'm not singling out men. Men, it could be the woman you're going to marry. You have introduced, you have taken all these things. Yeah? You've delivered the meat and the sugar and the 48-inch flat screen television. And then you discover that she's in a live relationship with another man. Red flag. Are you going to go ahead and marry this woman? Can you live with it? The question to ask yourself is, can you live with it? And all those questions you ask yourself before you are standing before the priest saying, I do. In fact, the priest on the day you are married will say, when you are all assembled, is there anybody here? In fact, even before that day, for 3 weeks, they are making announcements. They call them banns of marriage. So that anybody with a reason why the two of you should not get married should come up. Then on that day, as you stand in the front, the priest will look up at the congregation and say, is there anybody here who has any reason why these two people should not be married? And he waits and he looks around. And then he says, if there's nobody, then you should remain silent forever. Then he turns to the two of you in front of him and he says, is there any reason between the two of you? You have an opportunity, even in your white gown and in your shining tuxedo, to say, by the way, now that you say it, Musumba, I don't know. I don't think I want to go ahead. Yes. That opportunity is there, and you can pick up your white gown and run out and say, I cannot go through with this. You can rip off your bow tie and say, I cannot go through with this. But if you don't tell the priest that, yes, I have a reason, he will tell you, forever hold your peace. You are rational, sane human beings. If you have any misgiving whatsoever, take some time. Take some time and think. Because once you say, I do, once that man says, what God has joined together, let no man put asunder. That's it. That's it. That is where in sickness and in health, for better, for worse, for richer, for poorer, and all those other vows, from this day forward until death us do part. You're locked in there. No divorce until death. So if anything should arise, I'm not saying that if this woman you wake up one night and this woman is holding a knife over your head, you stand there and say, I vowed until death. No. There are situations like that which may warrant that you walk away as you try to resolve. Not from the marriage. You walk away from that situation as you try and work. Maybe the woman has a mental problem. Let us send her to Butarika and fix it. Maybe after 6 months of proper treatment, she will come back and say, did I really do that? I am so sorry. I was out of my mind. And now you can continue your marriage. Because there's no situation that cannot be resolved if the two of you are willing. And even if only one of you is willing, we counsel couples all the time. We can give you advice on how to do your 100% so that the other person either comes around or you are given the energy and the grace and the mental stability to continue in this relationship. Particularly, not just only, but particularly if you have brought other people into this world. And then there was something about, but can't we have sex and still get to know each other? Research has shown over and over, and even observation has shown that it erodes the quality of the relationship. Having sex before you commit erodes the quality of the relationship. Chief of which is the trust. And you know, trust in marriage. Trust in marriage is so critical. It takes time to build, time and proof and consistency to build trust to the level where my husband can come home at midnight and tell me, you know what, the car broke down, and I know the car broke down. Yes, that is trust. He has never given me any reason to think that anything, if it is something else, he will tell me what it was. I am now retired. When I was working, I would travel. I would go out of the country. Sometimes I would come back only long enough to empty my suitcase of what I've been using in the last trip and put in some clean clothes, and I go for another one. There was a time my organization had 3 of our staff kidnapped by pirates in Somalia. I literally lived in Kenya because that's where the crisis management team was. I would come home, be home for maybe 10 days, 2 weeks, and go back to Kenya because I was on the crisis management team. My husband had nothing to worry about. I had nothing to worry about, even though we were living in 2 different countries. So when you begin doing things which are eating away at your trust, even before you begin, I am telling you, when you are locked in there, and then you are sneaking at night when he's in the bathroom, and you are checking, scrolling the messages, man, who wants to live like that? Who wants to live like that? And then you land on something. By the way, his phone has no password. Yes. No, it's not emergency. My phone has a password simply because the kind of phone I have needs a password, but he knows my password.
Given it to me. She has given it to me, but you know what? I've forgotten it because I don't care. I trust her. And I've never checked, or let me check what. I've never checked because I've never had a reason to check. She would travel with her bosses overseas, with her bosses. I had no reason to one day wonder whether they could be doing funny things. I have traveled from Ethiopia here, from Entebbe here, on Ethiopian Airlines. We were going to Mozambique. We reached Addis. The plane, they kind of disorganized themselves, so they took us to a hotel. We were taken to a hotel. We were offered prostitutes. Yes, available. I said, man, pretty one, yeah, pretty girls, yeah, pretty girls. And you know Ethiopians, they can be really, yeah, pretty girls. Yeah. I could have slept, yes. So. Did you? That you do and you repent.
That is one way to handle it, but you know, you can escape the punishment, but you don't escape the consequences. And the consequences don't always happen there and then. Some consequences skip a generation, and then we see people, and you are wondering, why are things always happening that way? Anyway, but in essence, we are telling you, be objective. Have your head on your shoulders. Use all your senses. to get to know this person and to ask yourself the difficult questions. I told you when I was coming to Nairobi in the middle of that 5-year period that I was out of the country, I asked myself, if this man proposes to me on this visit, what will my answer be? Will it be a yes? At that time I didn't know, but I took the time and the trouble to examine. Fortunately, he had been my friend for many years. And all those stories of, oh, this Mr. Nice Guy, he gives everybody a tour of Nairobi. All those were part of the data that I was examining. This man is capable of giving tours even to girls, and not a single girl can say he winked at me or he touched me inappropriately. So you need to use your senses instead of getting high on sex. Use your senses to examine whether this is the relationship that is going to take you a lifetime. We've been at it now just 3 months short of 38 years, and I have no regrets. It doesn't mean that we are always smiling and romancing. No, we are not perfect. We have differences, we have quarrels, we upset each other, we get mad at each other. There are times when we feel like, But you know, we took the time to build the friendship. We took without any mixes, you know, because good sex can dull your other senses. Yes?
And it's not a fair period.
Yes. You can, by the way,
because research shows what you think is good sex cannot sustain a relationship. It can't. Research shows you can't even go more than a year or two on what you think is good sex. After a while, that sex is meaningless if the relationship is not there.
After a while, that sex becomes one of the activities, not the most important activity, and not the one. By the way, a good sex session may last an hour and a half, maybe 2, but there's 24 hours in one day, and you are stuck with this human being for 24 hours, 7 days a week. Hello, you better have something more than sex to go on.
What about those societies where matrimonial kind of, matriarchal, yes, and we're leaving them behind? What we are giving you here, I know there are many kinds of societies. There are many perspectives on marriage. What we are giving you is a true north. Okay? What we are giving you is data on true north. Why are we giving you true north? You ask any medical student, they will tell you that when they are being trained to be doctors, they first train them on how a healthy body functions. And they show them the parameters of a healthy body. Once the students have captured that, then they begin to expose them to diseases. So that now, anytime they go to a diseased body, at the back of their mind, they have the true north of a healthy body. As soon as they see this one, I need to adjust here or to do this. What we are doing in this session is we are giving you true north on what marriage is supposed to be. So, wherever you are, now you have this matrimonial, I don't know, whatever, our African one, the secularist one, or whatever, I mean, we are giving you the true north, so that now it's up to you to see how, from this one, how many degrees do you need to turn to have the true north? Because not every marriage is on true north. Okay? In fact, many are not on true north. And that's why we have the problems that we're having. That's why we have the statistics that we showed you here. Because marriages are not being run using true north. And so what we are doing here is to give you true north. So then you need to take this information, take it to your situation, and use it. Including the thing about sex. Can you do it before? Listen, our sons and daughters. You are free to decide whether you have sex or not, because we are beings that have been given the freedom to make choices. But you don't have or you will not choose the consequences of that sex. And I don't think there was enough time yesterday for you guys to get the consequences of sex outside of marriage. There are many, many consequences. Some of the consequences can be multi-generational. It will bypass you and go to the next generation and go to the following generation. Some of you here are products of such, where your grandparents or your parents did things and you have landed to where you are now. That's why sex is not just a thing where, just like drinking coffee. I drink coffee here, then I go there and I take tea, and it's just up to me what I want to do. Sex is governed by natural laws, like gravity. You throw the ball up, it has to come down because gravity is acting on it. Sex, similarly, has laws that govern it. And so, it's not just up to you that, but for me I can choose to do this. There are laws, and those laws kick in. Those laws kick in once you enter sexual activity. And whether you like it or not, its consequences will kick in. And some of the consequences can be long term, some can be shorter, some can be irreversible. Irreversible. Now, let's do two phases. You have not yet married this person. You're already having sex. Know that whatever you're doing now to somebody's future wife, somebody is also doing it to your future wife. And to your future husband. Yes. Yeah. Somebody is doing it to your future wife and to your future. Yes. Okay? That's what it is. Okay? Now, if you happen to then get married, okay, you've had premarital sex, then you get married, fine. You need to put things right. You don't just continue business as usual. We forget the past, we just continue. You need to put things right. Otherwise, those are the baggages. Remember the things in quadrangle 4? Yes. Any sex outside of marriage enters quadrangle 4. Okay? Enters quadrangle 4. And those are the things that may be coming from out there and showing their ugly faces in quadrangle 2. And maybe you wonder, why is it I can't keep a relationship? Every time we start, I can't keep it. It may be because there are things which are coming, some skeletons in there, some snakes which are not killed are coming from there and going up. So, then finally, Hannah, about violence. Although you already said about it. Yeah, violence.
I'll say again what I said before about violence. The immediate thing is to remove yourself from harm's way. Yeah. But by removing yourself from harm's way, I am not saying get a divorce. I am saying you need help. You need help, even the violent person needs help. And that help is available. So, what we do is not run away from our problems. What we do is solve our problems, resolve our problems. If there's violence, you walk out, the other person also walks out, then the cycle continues because another person will come in. Yes, another person will come in. So we resolve. You get the help that you need and you restore your family if you're married. If you're not married, you can walk out of any relationship, which is why I was ready to walk out of the relationship with Steve when I thought it wasn't working. We were not married. But now that we are married, we decided this thing is going to be fun. We are going to make it work. We will do the work that we need to do to be happy. And that's exactly what we have done.